Welcome to Shelf Life, the monthly series where I look back at games I covered previously and let you know whether they're still in my collection. In this month's episode, I'm looking back at games I covered in July of this year. And as always, if you want to hear about the winner of this month's contest, hang on until the end of the video. And a quick point I wanted to discuss, I saw some comments after last month's video, and kind of in general, that Shelf Life seems to be the real review for games, that maybe I didn't tell my full opinion, or my opinion wasn't the honest one when I originally reviewed them, and then this kind of fixes it. And I want to hopefully make that clear that that is not at all the case. The reason I call so many games is not because I don't like the games or because my reviews were lies or overly positive. It's mainly because I'm an established reviewer at this point. Thank you all for your support in that. And I'm getting a lot of review copies. Besides the games I bought, I probably got review copies for 60 or 70 games this year. And I don't have a lot of space. The shelves you see behind me are basically the entirety of my shelf space, except for one other bookcase across from me. So I can't keep or fit in my house more than maybe 60 or 70 games. I need to constantly donate or sell or trade or give away the games, which is one reason I have these contests. So again, I'm not getting rid of games or culling them because they're bad or because my reviews changed massively. It's more that I only have room in my collection for games with great staying power, great solo play, that my wife loves, that my son loves, and especially with COVID times, those are the people I'm really playing with most of the time, so that's about it. But anyway, just wanted to clear that up and discuss a bit. With that out of the way, let's get to the list. First is The Wars of Marcus Aurelius, a solo-only game where you try to fight off invading hordes trying to attack Rome. So did this one stay in my collection? No, it did not. Now, the first key point here is I didn't own a copy of this game. Somebody let me borrow it so I could cover it. So I didn't just have to decide whether I would keep it or not. I would have had to go and buy a copy. And my decision for this one, as I mentioned in my review, came down to the luck element and how a few rolls can totally shift the game in drastic ways, let an entire barbarian horde that you conquered come back. And I just did not like that. I think some die rolls had too big of an impact, so I didn't really have enough interest to go and track down another copy of it. The second game is Dark Souls the card game, a 1 to 4 player game of tactical combat in the Dark Souls universe. Was this the Dark Souls game to beat them all? It's better for me than the board game, but not amazing. I mentioned back in my review that I wasn't sure how much staying power this one would have, and I was kind of hoping the expansions would fix it for me, but while they did add nice content and more variety, it wasn't enough, because as I said, I think solo play is where the best deck building happens, but the combat's kind of boring, and in multiplayer the combat is more exciting, but the deck building becomes too obvious. And I have better deck builders in this game, and especially with something like Too Many Bones, I definitely have way better tactical quick combat games, so I don't really see much need to keep this one. Next is Castle Itter, a solo-only game in David Thompson's Valiant Defender series. This is definitely my favorite game in that series, so is it in my collection? Not yet, but let me explain. Like Marcus Aurelius, this is one that was loaned to me and I had to give it back, but it really hurt me to do so because I love this game. It has such great variety, such amazing tension. The setup is so simple. It's definitely one I want to get, but I haven't yet. And why? Quite honestly, because Danverson games are fairly expensive. I've talked about this before. They tend to be on the higher end of wargame prices. But I am planning to get a copy soon. I'll either do it in an online store or add it to the Pledge Manager in Warfighter Fantasy or Soldier and Postman's uniforms, because I pledged both of those. So I am going to get it, and this is the first time this has happened in Shelf Life, but I'm going to call this a keep. So sorry if that ruined your bracket and made you lose the contest, but it's going to be my collection. It's just not here yet. So I'm going to say I'm having it. I don't know. Next is Rallyman GT, a racing game with solo and competitive play. Am I finally going to keep a game on this dang list? Yes, I am. I'm going to talk more about this in my video next month where I go over my top 20 games of the year, but Rallyman is currently my favorite racing game of all time, and it's one of my most played games this year. Now, a lot of that is on Board Game Arena online, but I also love playing it in person, especially with the fan-made solo bots that let you play solo in a big race. My son also enjoys it. I went almost all in for Rallyman Dirt to get more content. I love this one, and I don't see it going anywhere for a long, long time. Next is For What Remains, a solo and competitive skirmish game set in a post-apocalyptic future. This one is another David Thompson design. Man, I love that guy. Did it stick around? No, sorry, David. I do think For What Remains is a fantastic multiplayer competitive skirmish game, but for the solo play, I found it a little onerous to keep track of all the orders for the AI units, and they sometimes acted a little more dumb in specific scenarios than I would have liked, so since I don't expect to play competitive skirmish much, it didn't seem worth it to keep it. Next is Lockup, a solo and competitive game where you jockey for position in a fantasy prison. Did this one unlock the key to my heart? No, even though it's sitting back there, I don't want to keep it. Lockup is another one where I think the competitive play is a lot of fun, but the solo play kind of does some dumb and exploitable things that make it not as fulfilling an experience for me. And again, I'm not going to play competitive much, that's not my jam for most games I play, so no need to keep it around. And finally, we have Crowbar, a solo and cooperative game of US Rangers fighting up the beaches on D-Day. So what's it going to be? 2 games? 3? 2 games? 3? 2. Bye-bye, Crowbar. I really like the core mechanic of rolling dice and pushing your luck, but I didn't find, at least in the base game without the expansion, enough variety. Now, I am hoping to check out a similar dice mechanic in another game by the same designer in magnificent style, but for now, Crowbar had to go. So that's it. Not an entirely bloody month. 2 games kept out of 7. Well, 1 plus 1 incoming. I know it got a little bit weird. And don't forget to hang out if you want to see who won the contest. Good gaming, and I'll see you at the next stop. Alright, and here we go. Let's see who is our winner for this month. 10 of you were able to worm your way into my mind and pick out the exact right answers, but 1 didn't want to be entered in the contest. We have 9 possible winners. And 5 of them, Kenny, Eric, Dave, Matthew, and Enrique, are also Patreon supporters. So they get a double entry and a double chance to win. We've got 14 possibles. I've got a D20 dice roller. So we're going to see who wins. And if we get a 15 or above, we'll just roll again. So here we go. And a 7, which is, hey, Dave Mordhammer. There you go, Dave. You are our big winner for this month. So congratulations to Dave, and thanks to everybody. We had over 100 people enter again. Next month, we're not going to have a Shelf Life episode. We'll instead have a contest to go along with my top 20 games of 2020. So look forward to that, and we'll see you at the next stop.